horribly taken out of context and his goodwill taken advantage of. I don't know what the hell he means by any of that stuff. Just seems like a bunch of gobbledygook to me. Just, sort of a backhanded character assassination. A guy, so he's an industrialist. Yes, what are you trying to say? He made it? Or just one, and there's no provenance on the thing, and it could be made of geopolymer, as we'll talk about later. Which brings us to the next participant. As I stated in the beginning of this post, Dr. Vera M.F. Hammer has recently contacted me to answer my questions about her involvement with the disc. She was very kind to do so, and it's very exciting to talk to someone living who is involved in something like this. I reproduced Dr. Hammer's account here. Dr. Hammer is a mineralogist, not a geologist, as some sites, myself included, have said. Since 1992, she's worked as curator for the Natural History Museum in Vienna, Department of Mineralogy and Petrography. According to Dr. Hammer, she first encountered the disc in 2001 through Mr. Klaus Dona, an individual I did not touch on last time, what we'll get to this time. But first, Dr. Hammer's account. Okay, I was asked in the year 2001 by Mr. Klaus Dona, who curated the exhibition Unsolved Mysteries in the same year in Vienna, to make XRD analysis of some of the exhibited objects. Most of the objects include new materials, and I told him that these were fakes, but this is not what he wants to hear. Even other scientists from our museum told the owners of the objects and Mr. Klaus Dona that all the stuff is not what they believe. Some of the exhibited objects were curiosities by nature. It's interesting that they say that in there, curiosities by nature. In other words, they can't explain it. Others, man-made new stuff, which you can buy in a touristic shop in that area. But anyway, our comment about the so-called genetic disc was only that it consists of feldspar, quartz, and mica, which was proved by XRD measurement. Okay, so feldspar, quartz, and mica, there may be feldspar and quartz in it, mica in it, but the quartz is very interesting to me because quartzite is awfully hard stuff. Okay, and apparently the radiolarite, the lyddite, has quartz in it, okay, the silicas of the exoskeleton of these biomechanoid things, okay, that lived in the oceans, millions of years ago, billions of years ago, whatever. My former director, who is petrologist, said that this rock could be lyddite, a grade of black fine-grained schist, or an artificial product made of this minerals. Okay, the schist means that it can fracture sort of, lengthwise, longitudinally, easily enough, I guess, or it can be with, I guess, the right pressure. Okay, and this is why it was used for the type of tools that it was used for, and these apparently for carving things, but they're awfully hard to carve with copper tools. Okay, or, this is interesting here, or an artificial product made of these minerals. Okay, so if that's true, or somehow this lady doesn't understand geopolymers and what we can make today, such as corian and some of these other things, this would be a new geopolymer that this guy could make $1 billion on. I've never heard of it before, but are there geopolymers made of these minerals? I guess she's sort of admitting it there. Okay, but I've never heard of any man-made geopolymer that imitates lyddite. Never heard of it. Okay, other stuff, yeah, but not lyddite. All right, so what is that? I never classified the disc or any of these objects to a special cultural period or give any statement of age, which in fact are not part of my competence. So this was the only information we gave. All interpretation of symbols and signs, age, or anything else arise in the head of the owner and or curator of the exhibition. There was no author given in the catalog about Unsolved Mysteries, so in fact, I don't know who writes all that nonsense. Okay, so she's disassociating herself from the things. And don't forget, this thing came along with these other tools that came along. You can see this one also of lyddite, and this other one that looks like this Tartarian guy with this hood and whatnot of interest to me. Why this hoodie he's got on here? It looks like he's wearing a hoodie. All right, these tools, but he doesn't talk about that in this article, just about the genetic stone. All right, so he says here, Dr. Hammer's statement pretty much concludes this whole thing. The one and only official research is mentioned as having studied the disc tells us it's a fake. So let's take a closer look at Mr. Klaus Donner. I'm not going to read it because it's character assassination of Klaus Donner. It's a bunch of baloney. Okay, get to the disc. Okay, so he just character assassinates Donner, and that's all he says. All right, and sorry to say that this is not proof enough of it being a true type 1 hoax, okay? It's still no provenance with it. It's still unexplained as far as I'm concerned. It's still open to discussion, so end of story. But what I did sort of notice about it, which piqued my interest in it, and I remember when I saw this, and thanks to Chuck at CF Apps, okay, with his recent video on the spear point mount, I went back and looked at my spear point mount video, and I noticed the artwork of the Adena, and I was looking at, when I first saw this, I said to myself, this looks awfully like the art from the genetic disc, okay? I made a mental note of that when I had done this video on it, and when this whole genetic disc thing came up again, and Chuck posted his video, drawing me right to this. Okay, and you can look at the art of the Adena here, and if you know, nothing for nothing, I studied a little bit of art and art history and done some art myself. Okay, this has very similar sort of you know, stylization to that on a genetic disc. So, you know, guys, I just, you know, the Adena and the Hopewell had this huge network. Some of our major highways today are on these networks of Indian trails that were here when the colonists and settlers got here. Main highways up and down, north and south, east and west, throughout the United States, where all of these highways by these native peoples in those days with the Hopewell and Adena, these awfully large hominid people or whatever who were procuring things from all over the Americas, okay? And these things would have a tendency to gravitate. And by the way, these are stones. These are just not drawings here. These are actually steles or tablets or whatever, okay? They show pictures. I've seen pictures of them before, okay? So the stylization is just so similar. I'm sorry. I don't see it the way that this guy sees it. And there's a lot of holes in this argument. They just want to claim it's a hoax. Okay, I'm sorry, it's a type 2 hoax. Okay, and Budcat 7 says so. Again, this is the kind of stuff you got to expect from me, guys. I go way deep into this to find out exactly what these people are trying to put forward here. And like I said, it's the first thing you come to when you look up the genetic disc online, is this first in the search area here, okay? So something had to be said about it, all right? So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please do hit the like button. We're going to go further with this. We're going to talk more about what ancient man might have known about in the I Ching and the genetic code, but that's be the next video. And we're working up to something big, okay? So please do hit the like button, guys. Budcat7 signing out. Peace.